Water is the oldest symbol. It appears in every creation myth. It is the source of life. It is the boundary between worlds. But water also carries symbols. The serpent, the fish, the shell, the spiral. They appear in ancient art. They appear in sacred texts. They appear in the architecture of civilizations that never met. And they all point to the same source, the deep. This is the second file in our three-part investigation. We are going to trace the symbols that rise from the water, and we are going to ask, what if these symbols are not metaphors? What if they are evidence? Welcome to Mysterious Encounters. In part 1, we explored the possibility that the Anunnaki originated not in the sky, but in the water. We traced the threads that connect Enki, the Sumerian god of wisdom, to the dolphin, and to the idea that the first intelligence on Earth may have emerged from the deep. Today, in part 2, we go deeper. We are going to examine the symbols that appear across cultures, symbols that are associated with water, symbols that are associated with wisdom, symbols that are associated with the beings who came from the deep. This is the episode where we ask, what are the symbols of the water, and what are they trying to tell us? The serpent is one of the oldest symbols in human history. It appears in the art of every ancient culture. It is associated with wisdom, healing, and transformation. But the serpent is also associated with water. In Mesopotamia, the serpent was associated with the god Enki. Enki was the god of the Abzu, the subterranean freshwater ocean. In Egypt, the serpent was associated with the goddess Wadjet. Wadjet was the protector of the pharaoh. She was also the goddess of the Nile. In India, the serpent is associated with the Nagas. They are beings of wisdom who live in the water. They guard the treasures of the earth. In Mesoamerica, the serpent is associated with Quetzalcoatl. He is the feathered serpent. He is the god of wind, wisdom, and creation. The serpent appears everywhere, and everywhere it is associated with water. What if the serpent is not a metaphor? What if it is a representation? A representation of a being that came from the water, a being that brought wisdom, a being that was remembered as a serpent. Now we turn to another symbol, the fish. In ancient Mesopotamia, there was a figure named Oannes. He was described as a sage who emerged from the sea. He had the body of a fish and the head of a man. He taught humanity the arts of civilization, writing, agriculture, law. He returned to the sea at night. The story of Oannes appears in the writings of Berossus, a Babylonian priest. It is one of the earliest accounts of a being who brought knowledge from the water. In ancient Egypt, the fish was associated with the goddess Isis. She was the goddess of magic, wisdom, and the sea. In ancient India, the fish is associated with the god Vishnu. He takes the form of a fish to save humanity from the flood. In ancient Greece, the fish was associated with the goddess Aphrodite. She was born from the sea. She was the goddess of love, beauty, and wisdom. The fish appears everywhere, and everywhere it is associated with wisdom. What if the fish is not a symbol? What if it is a memory? A memory of beings who came from the water, beings who brought knowledge, beings who were remembered as fish. Now we turn to another symbol, the spiral. The spiral is one of the oldest symbols in human history. It appears in cave art. It appears in pottery. It appears in architecture. It is associated with water in many cultures. The spiral represents the movement of water, the flow of rivers, the motion of waves, the spiral of the vortex. It is also associated with wisdom. The spiral represents the journey inward, the journey into the self, the journey into the deep. What if the spiral is not a design? What if it is a map? A map of the journey into the deep? A map of the journey into wisdom? A map of the journey into the source of the symbols themselves? Now we turn to another symbol, the shell. The shell appears in ancient art. It is associated with water. It is associated with the sea. In many cultures, the shell is a symbol of the divine. It represents the voice of the gods. It represents the call of the deep. In ancient India, the conch shell is associated with the god Vishnu. It is a symbol of power and creation. In ancient Mesoamerica, the shell is associated with the god Quetzalcoatl. It is a symbol of wisdom and transformation. The shell appears everywhere, and everywhere it is associated with the water. What if the shell is not a decoration? What if it is a message? A message from the deep? A message from the beings who came from the water? A message that we have not yet learned to read? No, we must ask the question. Why do the same symbols appear across cultures that never met? Why do the serpent, the fish, the spiral, and the shell appear in the art of civilizations that were separated by thousands of miles? The answer, according to the Black Ledger, is that they are not separate. They are echoes. Echoes of a shared origin, echoes of a civilization that existed before the ones we know. A civilization that used these symbols, a civilization that passed them on, and a civilization that was forgotten. What if the symbols are evidence? Evidence of a time when the beings from the water walked among us. Evidence of a time when the wisdom of the deep was known. Evidence of a time when the symbols were not symbols, but language. Now we turn to the present. The symbols of the deep are still with us. The serpent appears on the caduceus. It is a symbol of medicine. It is a symbol of healing. The fish appears on the ichthys. It is a symbol of the divine. It is a symbol of the sacred. The spiral appears in art, in architecture, in design. The shell appears in jewelry, in decoration, in symbolism. We use these symbols every day, but we have forgotten what they mean. We have forgotten that they came from the water. We have forgotten that they were given to us, and we have forgotten who gave them. The symbols are not ours, they are echoes. Echoes of something older, something that has been waiting for us to remember. And if we can read them, we may find not just the past, but the pattern. The pattern that connects all civilizations, the pattern that the Black Ledger has recorded. The pattern that is still unfolding. The symbols are still speaking. The question is, are we listening? The Aquatic Hypothesis will continue next time in Part 3, The Return to the Deep. We will explore the possibility that the beings from the water never left, that they are still here, still watching, still waiting for us to remember. The archive is never closed, and somewhere, the water is still calling. Until next time, keep reading the symbols.